And the people were amazed at how accurate is this description which Muhammad is giving to them. Besides this, he also said to them that there is a caravan which reached to the location of Bayda and will come to Mecca through the way of Tan'im within 3 days. And the same thing happened. And he also informed them that there was a pot of water from which the Prophet, peace be upon him, drank, which was with this caravan. And when the people of caravan came, they were asked about that pot of water, and they said, yes, we missed some water that night. So this is an indication. Yet, having all these indications, those who were having disease in their hearts, they were unable to have faith in the Messenger ﷺ or what he was saying. The entire challenge for the believers is to have faith in the unseen. A believer is not the person who believes in the seen. What makes you important in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that you believe in the unseen. That is the challenge. If everything is seen, everything is physically existing before you, and I say to you that believe in this, there's no challenge in it. What makes faith challenge is that you have to believe in things which are unseen. The likeness of faith is like a drop from an ocean, driven from an ocean, given to you. You taste it, you taste one drop only, not the entire ocean, and you find it salty. And they have to believe that the entire ocean which you didn't taste is salty. This is the likeness of faith. There's something brought to you, some proofs given to you that the Prophet Muhammad or the Quran is a true message. After that, after having that evidence that the Quran is a true message, you have to jump and accept every information which is there. Whether you can verify it, you can check it, you can test it, or no, you have to accept everything. This is the life, to jump into the unseen, to jump into the unknown and to accept it. And that's why when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaks about the believers in Surah Al-Baqarah in the beginning, He says what about the believers? الَّذِينَ يُؤْمِنُونَ بِالْغَيْبِ. The believers are the ones who believe in the unseen. So Isra al-Mi'raj is one of the symbols which are indicating, or with which a person can verify and measure his faith. The better faith he's having in Isra al-Mi'raj, which is a spiritual journey, which is having lots of symbol in it, which is having lots of scenes from the unseen and ghaib in it. If he believes in it, it's a scale against which he can measure his faith in Allah and His Messenger. With this, we come to the end of this session. Jazakumullah khair for attending this session. We can have some discussion or some questions if there are any. Okay, this is a good question. There are some sources of history which says that when the Prophet, peace be upon him, reached to Sidratul Muntaha and he was about to meet Almighty Allah, he was inspired by Allah with words of tahiyyat, the words which you say in the tashahhud. التحيات لله والصلوات والطيبات والسلام عليك أيها النبي. The first part of it was inspired to the Prophet, peace be upon him, and he started saying them immediately in that spot. And then it was included in the tashahhud prayer.
But did he see him or he heard it?
And this is a matter of debate between the theologians, which they, most of the Muslims, the majority of the Muslims believe that he didn't see him. But there's a verse in the Quran which says that مَا كَذَبَ الْفُؤَادُ مَا رَأَى, that the heart of the Prophet didn't lie about the matter which it saw. There's something which the heart saw. What is that? So in the tafsir of this verse, some scholars or some of the Sahaba like Imam Abdul Basit used to believe that that the Prophet saw Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But the scholars who came after, they said that Ibn Abbas meant that the Prophet, when he said that the messenger saw Allah, he meant that he saw him with his heart, not with his eyes. Because seeing with the eyes in this dunya, in this worldly life, is impossible. As it's mentioned in the Quran, لَا تُدْرِكُهُ الْأَبْصَارُ, that the eyesights can never reach to him. So eyesights can never reach to Almighty Allah, can never encompass Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But in the hereafter, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give the opportunity to human beings in His own way to have a look to him. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, more handsome, definitely he's more handsome. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blessed him with the handsomeness, as mentioned in the Quran and many other hadith. There are some hadith which also says that, now this is not authenticated by all the scholars. This mentioned in the book of Ash-Shifa by the Yahsabi al-Qadhi al-Yahsabi. He says that when Yusuf alayhi salam walks against a wall, the wall starts shining out of his brightness. And we have in the Quran that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that the women of Egypt, they cut their hands with the knives when they saw Yusuf alayhi salam. They didn't feel that they are cutting their hands. فَقَطَّعْنَا أَيْدِيَهُنَّ وَقُلْنَا حَاشَ لِلَّهِ مَا هَذَا بَشَرًا إِنْ هَذَا إِلَّا مَلَكٌ كَرِيمٌ. And they said on seeing Yusuf that this is not a human being, he's a malakun, he's a noble angel. This handsome the man is. So the incident of Isra Mi'raj actually is proving that verse. Everything is good in its time. When the Prophet, peace be upon him, chose milk and he didn't choose wine and water, there was an indication in it. There are some symbols in it. Jibreel alayhi salam said to the Prophet, peace be upon him, if you would have chosen wine, your entire nation would have been misguided. And if you would have chosen water, your entire nation would have been drowned. Those indications are there. Those are spiritual indications which are there. However, we know that milk is a wholesome food which is created naturally by the animals, if not pasteurized.
I want to experience the same journey.
The same journey.
Because I know there's a step before you get to the grave.
Yeah. The Prophet, peace be upon him, actually described the journey of soul after death till its end. So he said that a person, when he comes close to his death, an angel comes with a hanut, with a container close to him, to pull out his soul. And if he was a good person, his soul will leave his body easily. If it was an evil soul, the soul will spread in the entire body and stick to the body and will be pulled violently from his body. So it will be more painful for the person.
But let's talk about the good soul here. Like when it leaves the body, do we go same
Yeah, I'm coming to that point.
Oh, okay.
When the soul is taken out of the body, it's taken to the skies. And there's a door there are doors in the sky. وَفُتِحَتِ السَّمَاءُ فَكَانَتْ أَبْوَابًا. The entire sky becomes as doors. فَمَا بَكَتْ عَلَيْهِمُ السَّمَاءُ وَالْأَرْضُ وَمَا كَانُوا مُنظَرِينَ. The people of Fir'aun, when they died, when they were drowned, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, neither the skies cried for them, nor the earth cried for them. Some of the Sahaba asked Ibn Abbas, why should the skies cry? And he said that there are doors in the skies from which the a'mal, the deeds are raised. If those doors are not getting more good a'mal, then those doors cry. But because there are no good a'mal for Ali Fir'aun, for the people of Fir'aun, then their doors were not crying for them. So there are doors. These souls are taken to those doors. And when they reach to those doors, through which they can enter the higher kingdom, they knock the door, and the angels who are guarding those doors, they question that whose soul is this? And the angel of death who took the soul will answer, it is the soul of so and so person who is a pious person. Then they will open the door. They will open the door. And if it is the soul of an evil person, they will not open the door. It will be thrown from that location all the way to his grave, where he will have to stay in terror and punishment till the end of time. This is hadith of Abi Dharr radiyallahu anhu, which says 124,000 messengers were sent by Allah in the Hakim, the book of Musadrak al-Hakim, and amongst whom 315 were messengers. So prophets are more in number than messengers. Prophets, basically, there are many definitions for prophets and messengers. One of the definitions is prophets are those who follow those messengers who are before them. They maintain the same law. Messengers are ones who come with new laws. They'll bring something new, such as Musa alayhi salam, such as Ibrahim, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. These are messengers of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And there are many definitions. People are trying to put a proper definition for these terms. Behind those doors, these doors are guarded by the angels of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Assigned for every door there is an angel who is assigned by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When the good people's soul are raised to those doors, the doors open and the angels call them with the best of the names with which those people were called. And there's a good smell which is left behind those souls. And then they are wrapped in clothes which are from Jannah. These are spiritual things which happens with the soul. And then they are sent back respectfully to the graves, which is converted to a location from the locations of Jannah. And they are opened for them. Allah opens a door through which they can see their place in Jannah. And these people will keep saying in the graves, "O Almighty Allah, let the day of judgment be established so that we can reach to our locations in Jannah." Not take a long time, because the Quran says Laylan. Laylan is having two fatha on it, which is called as Nakira. Nakira means in a short period. When it says Al-Layl, it says Layla. Subhanalladhi Isra bi'abdihi Laylan. Exalted is the one who took his servant in a portion of night, in a journey in a portion of night. So it's a tiny portion of night. There are some narrations which says that when the Prophet, peace be upon him, came back, the lock which was on the door was still moving. So it didn't take much of time. You know, the mightier you are, the faster you are, isn't it? And the might of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is limitless. So the speed of this journey will be limitless.
But it happens here too. Any normal person has a dream.
So when you see your dream, you see lots of things, a huge story in a few seconds. And there are some creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who stay on the land only for few seconds and then they die. Some creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they stay for a few seconds and then they die. These creation, for them, past, present and future is few seconds. So it's possible for Allah, so there's nothing impossible for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We have an example, and some of our teachers used to say that when you watch a movie, for instance, you can watch it in 1 hour and you can fasten it and watch it in a few seconds.
Watch a trailer.
Yeah, this is one of the good questions. Most of the incidents which happen in our Islamic history or in the life of the Prophet, peace be upon him, there is a debate about its timing, about its day, about its month, about its... This shows what? This shows one crucial thing. And the Sahaba were not much concerned about these physical details. So human beings are not attached to the physical things. They are more attached to the lessons which they can learn, such as Inna ma'al usri yusra. The Sahaba used to learn from the incident of Isra and Mi'raj that after every hardship there is an ease created by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. These are the types of things which the Sahaba used to focus upon. The Prophet, peace be upon him, before Isra and Mi'raj, was suffering from many things in his life, like the death of his uncle, his wife, the behavior of people of Taif, the evil behavior, the violent behavior of the people of Taif, and many other things. So Almighty Allah, in order to release the Prophet from these pains and to bring an ease to him after the difficulty which he is suffering from, he brought him to the other kingdom. As if Allah is saying to the Prophet, "O Muhammad, if the people in the world are not accepting you, we in the higher kingdom, we are accepting you. You are ours. Do not care too much about these people. You are appreciated here." So he was raised there to forget his griefs. These are the types of things on which we have to focus more. But these details actually create lots of problems for the people of the book who were before us. Because they go to these physical details which are not very important and forget the gist of the story, the main lesson which is there behind the story, they're misguided. If you take the Old Testament for instance, or the New Testament, they speak about the lineage of Isa alayhi salam, that he was the son of so and so and son of so and so. These details are not very important. What's important is the message of Isa, the personality of Isa alayhi salam. Likewise, if you go to the Old Testament, you have similar stories in which they are concerned about the details. And we have the story of the Baqarah in the Quran, in which the people of the book, or the Jews, are concerned about the color, about the age, about what not related to the cow. And they forgot the actual story for which the cow was ordered to be slaughtered. So that these details, they differ about it. There is nothing accurate in this regard. There are some historians who believe that Isra and Mi'raj took place before the migration by 5 years. The others who say it took place before the migration by 3 years. The others who say that it took place, this is the majority, who say that the Isra and Mi'raj took place before the migration by 1 year. And that's why Khadija didn't offer any salah, because salah was ordained in Isra and Mi'raj. The others who say Isra and Mi'raj took place in Ramadan, others who say in Sha'ban, others who say in Rabiul Awwal, and there are many who say that it took place in Rajab. So they differ in many of these details, and knowing those details will not add anything. What is more important is, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, لِنُرِيَهُ مِنْ آيَاتِنَا, to understand the ayat, the signs which are there in the stories, and to benefit from them. And with this we reach to the end of the session. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. Allah bless you all and جزاكم الله خير for coming here. السلام عليكم.